Hi guys, this is Hugo, and I coded a calculator for my Genius project. So I used Java, and these are the two programs that I used to learn Java. So BlueJ is a more visual-oriented platform for Java developers. It shows you the connection between each class. So for example, we have the run class here, and it tries to find the method getName and getAge. And so it goes to the bottom class and it finds nothing. And the bottom class extends to the middle class and it finds getAge. So the system would then print out getAge. And it goes to the top class to find getName, and in which it returns Hugo. So basically, Hugo is 15 and Hugo is me. So we go to Eclipse, and it's a more sophisticated and more complex platform that most Java developers use. And here's where I coded my calculator. So what's going to load up is the welcome screen for Eclipse, and we have all these different options that we can choose. Settings, like a starting tutorial called Hello World, which every program uses, and a new Java project, and everything that I haven't explored yet. So we have our calculator right here, in which you can see is just like hundreds of lines of code. So it's going to be a bit overwhelming. So let's just move on to the easier side of this calculator coding process. So here is where I lay out what my calculator is going to look like. And this is the text field, which is basically the screen for the calculator. And if I want to put one of those, I just click on the text field and I just put it in. And if I want to make a button for either 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, or whatever, I just put it in. So let's say I want to make a new button, and I want to call that button BTN Magic. So, and I want the button to say magic because everything's magic when in code, and it's gonna say magic. And I can change the size by changing the width and the height, change the location by changing the X and the Y, or I can do that by simply dragging and extending. So this is magic, and when I have magic here, the source is going to give me a code for magic. So right here, we have magic, we have its coordinates, and then we have its size, and we have its name. So this is basically for every one of these. We have a code for every one of the buttons. And say if I wanted to add, okay, but let's delete magic first. Say if I want 7 to actually do something, because the calculator not only needs appearance, it also needs to work. So if I want 7 to actually do something, at first it's gonna look like this, a blank. So at first, if I double click on 7, it's going to show this, a blank public void method, in which I have to put stuff in it to make it work. So what I did was I inputted this code, which basically I create a variable, a string variable called int number, and a string is basically like a word. So we have types of data. You can think of string as a word, a double or an integer as a numerical value, and there are lots more of just data. So string is a word, and it's going to be the text display, which is the screen of the calculator, and I'm going to get the text from that. This is basically saying that this is I'm getting the value of whatever is on the screen. So let's say a 1 is already on the screen, and I want to combine that with a 7 because I pressed 7. So now it's gonna get the value from 7 and it's gonna combine with the 1. But when you see a plus sign, you would think that it's gonna be 1 plus 7, which equals to 8. But that's simply not true because this is a string, and a string is not a numerical value. So when they combine, they don't actually combine numerically. They combine like side by side. So it's going to become 17. So that's how a calculator works, right? So when you press 1 and you press 7, you get 17. When you press 7 first, you get 71. So after this whole thing is going to equal 17, and it gets stored into enter number. And enter number goes in here, which is basically set text is basically like I want to change whatever is on the screen. So then the screen will set 17. Will have 17 on it, basically. This is what it's saying. So then I copy and paste it, all of these, to all of the buttons and their code, and I basically change this. I can change it to 8, I can change it to 9, I can change it to 0, I can change it back to 7 because this is for 7. But yeah, so I copy and pasted this line and I just put it in every one of the number buttons. And so for the operation buttons, so let's just look at okay, what can I find here? Okay, I found division, so let's look at division. So let's say I want to calculate 4 divided by 2. So the obviously first thing you want to do is to type in 4. And then you press divide, but you want to save that 4 because you want to use it as part of the calculation. So this is basically, this line right here basically saves the 4, so I can use it for calculation. And so you guys remember how text display was supposed to be a string, basically a word? So a word can be calculated, right? As you can see, a word plus word is just a word. So we have to cast it, which basically means that changing the type of data. So I cast it to a double, so I change this to a double. I change the 17, or in this case the 4, to a double. And I store it to the first number. And the text display will then set the text to a blank. Because when you think about it, you press 4, and then you press divide. The screen goes blank because you need to press the 2, because we want to calculate 4 divided by 2. If the 4 is still on it, it's going to become 42. So the text becomes blank, and the operations, which I will explain later, becomes division. So this all goes into, so when you press equal, you go into the equal button, and it goes through a list. Just a list of if-else statements for all of the operations. So it's gonna check. So remember how operations changed into division? It's gonna check through the list, and it's gonna see if operations addition no, is it subtraction no, is it multiplication, it's not, and it finds division, and it goes into that because it confirms it. Oh, okay, so this is what we have to do. So it goes into division. We have the result equals first number divided by second number. First number is the first number that we typed in that was saved, which is 4. The second number, which comes right, which is stored right here, as you can see, with the same line of code from the first number. It's right here. So we want to say 4 divided by 2 equals to 2. So then the result, which obviously is a double because it's a numerical value, and we want it to be represented on the display screen, right? But on the display screen, you can only display string. So what do you have to do now? You have to do the same thing you did with what was it? Okay, whatever. But we have to cast it, so we have to change it to a string. So basically, I changed the 2 to a string, which means a word, I guess, and we store it into this answer, which we created right here. This is a variable called answer, and it's a string. So now it's ready to be displayed on the display screen, and so we set the text to answer, which is 2. So this is how 4 divided by 2 work, but there is a small flaw to this calculator, because every time after you get an answer, you have to clear the calculator. So basically, we have the clear function here, and it basically sets the text to null, which basically is nothing. So let me actually show you how that works. So we run the program, it's everything, there's no error, and then we put it here. So 4 divided by 2 equals to 2. So normally at this point in any calculator, if you press another number, the 2 is gonna disappear, and then it's gonna get a 1, right? But not in this one. When I press 1, it just adds on. So that's not what I want to do, obviously. But I couldn't figure out a way to actually fix that. So every time after we calculate, we actually have to press clear. So basically, say if I wanted to say root 4, what is that? Is that 2? And then I'll have to clear. And if I want to do 5 squared equals 25, and then I have to clear. So it's not a perfect calculator, but it still works. And I think it's this calculator is not the most complex logic wise, but it is a lot of work, and I feel like there should be a simpler way to do this, but I'm just not good enough for that. But yeah, this is my calculator, and I have a lot more, I guess, things. So I have the percentage sign, I have the square root, I have these. I want to all explain, but it's gonna take up too much time. But yeah, this is my calculator.